Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of TCG Talk, back today with another video. And in today's video, I'm going to be showing you some cards you can use to upgrade your Ira Armory deck, whether you only can spend a couple extra pennies or you can spend a little bit more money. Hopefully I can give you some cards to help improve this Armory deck and take what already is a strong base level product and make it even better. So hopefully you enjoy this. I had a couple people ask for it in the Discord, but if you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. Hopefully you enjoy your stay. If you're a long-standing supporter, thank you so much. As always, feel free to check out the Discord down below as well as the channel membership, and we will get right into it. So the one quick thing I want to say about this Armory deck, and this is the Armory deck list. I have it posted on February, which is kind of cool. This list is very synergistic. I think next to KO, this is probably the best Armory deck they've put out in terms of power level. I could easily see someone taking this to an Armory and stealing some games. Like, it's not a bad deck. It's very synergistic. All the cards work well with each other. Ira's inherent ability is always going to put you in a good spot. It's just a very good deck. They did a good job at putting in some really key synergistic pieces, putting Whirling Mist Blossom in a 3-of, thank you. Putting Bittering Thorns Red in at a 3-of, thank you. I was not expecting that. I could easily see them put this as a 2-of, and that's not a shot at anybody. It's just they typically put like some of the power cards at a 2-of. They even put 2 Majestic Give and Takes in here, which Give and Take's not like a cheap card at times. Even Sink Below, like it's so funny that this card is now like $2 a piece as a common or rare. From the original set. So really cool synergistic piece, and you don't have to do a whole lot to make this Armory deck level competitive. It already basically is in its own, but I'm gonna give you some cards. Whether your budget's like pennies on the dollar after this, like, hey, I only can buy the Ira Armory deck and then maybe like $5-10 worth of upgrades. That's all I really want to spend is like 50 bucks. Or you say, okay, I have a $100 budget. I actually can, spend $15-20 one or two times on some good play set of cards. Hopefully I can give you some good suggestions here. So we'll get right into it. And this is going to go from least expensive to most expensive. The most least expensive thing, and honestly, in my opinion, one of the first things you should buy from a true budget perspective is Sirens of the Safe Harbor from High Seas. This is considered draft chaff in a lot of ways, but in Ira it is so good. As you can see, it is a penny. It will cost you the $1 of shipping, right? Like these $1.31 shipping. So if you can find this local, people are probably just going to give you the card. If you have to order on TCG Player or MinMax or something like that, it's probably going to cost you like $1 or $2 to get the full play set. But this in Ira specifically is a 2-card 9 on a blue, being able to pitch for Edge of Autumn, and then you pitch and play Sirens with the 2 floating. Sirens comes in for 7 because of Ira's ability, and then you gain the life when it breaks the chain, so it's essentially an 8 value attack, and then you have the Edge of Autumn. So it's a 2-card 9. It's very good on blocks when you have to do it, and it also has some synergy with Iris of the Blossom, being able to discard your Sirens if you want to, depending on your hand structure, to go get your Whirling Mist Blossom and still gain a life. It's just really good synergy. If you're asking me like what is the best card for the money, this is the best card. It's literally not even $1 for the whole playset, not even 10 cents for the whole playset technically, but you have to count shipping. And really good card. It would be my first pickup if I was like truly budget and I only could get one playset of a card, maybe like whatever it is. This would probably be my first choice, honestly. Next one is Nip at the Heels. Again, this is from the Hunted. It is going to cost you, counting shipping, around $1.50. I like this card because it has a couple synergistic pieces in the Armory deck. It interacts very well with Whirling Mist Blossom. You want to pump Whirling Mist Blossom when you can. The deck naturally has only 1 attack reaction. Just triple check. Oh, 2. Razor Reflex. I'm dumb. 2 attack reactions, but Razor Reflex does cost something. So Legacy of Akaru is amazing. I don't know how this is not Majestic, but being able to have a blue block 3 that also can help buff your Whirling Mist Blossoms is really good. It also buffs Edge of Autumn because it says any attack with target attack with 3 or less base power gets +1, which doesn't sound like it matters, but it does. You'll be surprised. I have won off of a Nip at the Heels on an Edge of Autumn or even old school Kodachis on Kodachis a handful of times. It's really funny because when the opponent's at 2 and they just choose not to play around Razor, they're not going to block that first edge. They're going to wait and see what you got. It doesn't make sense to give a whole card So it's a way to kind of win games there. But yeah, very, very good card in terms of just raw value. And for this Armory deck specifically, when you're like, okay, what do I replace? It really depends on what you want to do. I probably would replace Blue Soul Bead. It's the least powerful blue you have. And it doesn't do a whole lot unless you're on like Prismatic. So I would probably take that out and put this in. Next one is Flex Clause. Now, this isn't like a shoe-in slam dunk, but it is very good. If you're looking for better go again, so like if you look at the Armory deck, and let's just say, some people are going to stay on the Snatch plan with Snapdragon Skillers. I'm personally on Breeze Hunter Boots, but that's a different discussion for a different day. If you're wanting to replace like these Soul Bead Strikes and Torrent of Tempos, yes, you're going to lose a little bit of block value, but let's just say you want a couple more extenders, right? You want something that you can do Edge of Autumn into an extender, into a finisher, right, on a 4-card hand. Flex Clause is very, very good. It also is really good as a Chain Link 1 because if they let this hit and you make that Crouching Tiger in your banish zone, you then can play the Crouching Tiger for 1 damage on Chain Link 2. It's not the end of the world if you're not running Mask Momentum, but it's just an idea for another good extender. If you're wanting something with a little bit more modality, maybe you want to replace Scar for Scar. You don't want to have that condition of if you have less life than your opponent. Flex Clause is a very good addition to this. It comes in for 1 for 5 go again on Chain Link. On Chain Link 1 or Chain Link 2, sorry. Chain Link 1 comes in 1 for 4, and this is very niche. But if you have that Crouching Tiger and you play it for 0, you technically can buff it with Legacy of Ikaru. Like you can do play lines where you do like Flex Clause for 4, they don't block it, make the Crouching Tiger. You Edge of Autumn for 2 because it gets plus 1 from Ira, and then you play your Crouching Tiger, and if they choose not to block it, which who in the heck would block a 0-power Tiger, you can play Legacy of Ikaru. Basically, as a cantrip, it replaces itself, and you give it +1. Again, it's not the end of the world, but in late game situations when your opponent's at very low life, it's really funny to do. And it's this isn't a slam dunk. I would probably get this way later. This isn't going to be in 100% tuned list, but if you have a community that has played, and this is the round the table version. Like you can get. Hold on a second, I'm doing this on the fly here. Why do I have my caps lock on? You can get like that's the round the table version. You can get the part the misfill common version for 5 cents, right? So pretty solid card. All right, so the next one we're gonna look at is Wreck Havoc, and this is for my CNC budget people. Always ask what's the replacement for CNC. The true and honest answer is there is no true replacement for CNC because everything else has some type of condition that CNC doesn't. CNC is just arguably the most powerful base level card in Flesh and Blood history, so it's really hard to give you like a 1-for-1 swap. But let's say you have a lot of pesky earth in your area, maybe a lot of guardians. You're looking for like something that helps against defense reactions, something that can punch through decks with a lot of defense reactions. Wreck Havoc is very good. It says defense reactions can't be played this Chain Link, so if your opponent is like chock full, maybe they have like 2 sinks and in Earth's case like 2 sinks and a root bound in their hand or something crazy. This is going to be able to help punch through some damage. Also, it does have the CNC-like effect if they end up having a defense reaction in their arsenal. I found this really good because it's the closest you're going to get to CNC that you possibly can get. This is the Armory deck version. I keep pulling up the Armory deck versions. I'm so sorry about that because it's probably even cheaper outside the Armory deck versions. Yeah, it is. So if you outsiders, so if you play this, sometimes they'll just let it hit because it's coming in for 7 off of Ira when you play Edge of Autumn first. So it's a 2-card 8, threatening their arsenal if they have a defense reaction. At 7, most decks aren't going to block 3 cards on this just to prevent you. They'll probably just take it. A lot of them do. It's really funny. But if they do block it out, then for a fact, if they fully block out the 7, not for a fact, pretty much for a fact, that they have a defense reaction in their arsenal. And then you can start to play around that in future turns because, like, why else would you block out the on-hit effect if it's not a defense reaction? Because it says when this hits a hero, you may turn a card in their arsenal face up, then destroy the defense reaction in their arsenal. So if it's just an attack, there's no reason for them to block this fully out unless they're on, like, low life totals. So it can also give you a little bit of information on your opponent. Very, very good. Next one is Humble. Again, when it comes to bang for your buck, in this current meta, this card is money. This card is almost a main board card right now for me, especially if you're not trying to do like a switch list. It's just so good. There's so many heroes in the game right now that care about their that care about their hero ability to help facilitate their game plan. Like, look at the top decks, like Gravy Bones. This turns off Gravy Bones, which is insane. Gravy Bones just basically plays blue cards. When it comes to Syndra, this turns off her ability to go get her daggers. Earth, it doesn't hurt as much unless you're in the super late game. Prism, this is an offensive card for Prism because it turns off her ability to search for a Figment, so it works as a pop. You always, against Prisms, you like poppers that also affect her offensively on the offensive side, so this is very good for that. It's good against even decks like Dorinthia because she can't swing twice, so like she's just going to hit you one time and she doesn't have a counter, then that's about it. There's so many like top level decks. Fang can't make fealty tokens. Doesn't get his daggers reduced cost. Like, I could go on and on. Pretty much every top deck in the game outside of maybe Verdant and Florian care about their hero ability a lot right now. So very, very good. Against Katsu, the new Katsu Edge Katsu players, turns off the ability Katsu trigger. Very, very good. I think this is arguably the best 6 power that's not CNC in the meta right now. That's just my opinion. You could argue Erase Face, but I honestly think Humble affects more things than Erase Face right now. Amnesia is another good one as well, but Humble is the best for your buck for sure. Next one is Spinning Wheel Kick. Again, if you're looking for an extender, if you're looking for something to exchange for Scar, over Flex Claws, this is actually probably your best. I just didn't have it early because for money, I'm going, cheapest to most. This is probably your best extender. To be completely honest, one of your best ones because it pairs with pretty much everything. It's a 1-for-5 on Chain Link 2. It's a 1-for-4 on Chain Link 1. It pairs with itself, so if you have multiple in hand, it just stacks. Like being able to do Edge for Autumn, Spinning Wheel Kick for 5, Spinning Wheel Kick for 5, on hit, put the first Spinning Wheel Kick back in your deck. So it has good when you draw multiples. It pairs with Flick Flack in a pinch. If you ever need to block, it gets +2 block after Flick Flack, so it blocks for 4. Just kind of does everything that you want it to do. It's probably the most utility-based extender you can run, or one of the most. So if you're looking to replace that Scar for a Scar with a really good extender, I think Spinning Wheel Kick's probably your best bet. And it's only, as you can see, they're a little bit more expensive because the card is very good. And expensive being what, $5 counting shipping for a playset. So there's what it is. Okay, then we're going to make a jump. This is the one that people probably know the most, Ancestral Empowerment. So this is really interesting because it all depends what style of IRA you're playing is if you get this card or not. In my opinion, if you were playing how I'll put this, if you're playing a deck that really centers around Whirling Mist Blossom, like my style list that people know on my channel that I just put out a few days ago, this card's a must-have, right? You want to. This is the first major upgrade you buy. If you're wanting to run a more ninja-focused IRA and you're going to really rely on like Bittering Thorns, Whirling Mist Blossom, Seek Vengeance, Enact being very good. Maybe you're running cards like Spinning Wheel Kick, cards like 100 Wins even. Like that card's Ancestral Empowerment is going to be very, very good, and it's going to continue to do work for you. But if you're going for more of a generic-based IRA, maybe like Whirling Mist Blossom is just an additional card you have, but it's not like necessarily like what you're trying to do so much. You're really relying on a lot of generic cards. You have a lot of Humble in your main board. Maybe you have, Censor even if you own them and stuff like that, and you're focusing more on just like old school IRA, but with the additional ability of like Enact and Seek Vengeance. This might not be a slam dunk buy for you. However, I think it's still worth the buy. $30 for a playset right now is a little steep. It's gone up. At one point, it was $5, so it's doubled in price since the Armory deck was talked about pretty much. Very, very good card, but $30, I understand, if you're balling on a budget, is pretty steep for one playset of cards. Now, if you bought the Armory deck and you say, okay, Dylan, I have $100 to spend counting the Armory deck, so I have $60 left. What should I buy? I probably would buy these. I think it's worth half of your remaining budget to be able to have access to this card, especially with Whirling Mist Blossom in the deck. And honestly, if you're playing traditional Ninja, this card's always going to be good. Like, always going to be good. It doesn't care about combo. It just cares about target Ninja attack. And whether you're playing a mid-range Ninja or an aggro Ninja, like, +1 draw a card that's a 3-block that costs 0 is always going to be good, right? So I think that's definitely worth it. We then have Erase Faces. $15 a pop. This card is really good, and if you have the money, I think it's definitely worth the pickup. I personally would not get this card over a card like Censor, and we'll talk about that in a second. The card's very good. It's just in my list. Like, again, if you're one of those people that bought the Ira Armory deck, and let's say you have $100 to spend total, and you just bought your Ancestral Empowerment, so now you have $30 to spend, I wouldn't buy this card. I would skip it and either try to shell out $5 more, $15 more and buy Censors, or just buy a lot of these, like, you know, these utility cards that I just talked about. So the card's very good. It's very good into because it says when Erase Fates hits a hero, cards and tokens lose all class and talent types until the end of their turn. So it shuts off, you know, the word light. It shuts off the word earth, which is really big. It shuts off the word draconic, which is the biggest one for Syndra. Very, very good in the Syndra. So if you're really wanting to tech in the Syndra, then this card might be more important to you. But into the top decks, like, it doesn't shut off, like, it does nothing in the gravy. It technically pretty much does nothing in the Prism because, like, she cares about colors and cares about the word Herald. Amnesia is the better option for that. It really, the biggest meta applicability is Earth and Draconic. That's kind of the biggest thing. But right now, this card, the thing about this card specifically is when you buy this card, it's always going to have some relevance, and it's going to come into more play as time goes on. You know, in the Dromai era, this was like extremely, extremely good. It's also really good in the Mechanologist as like a sideboard thing or like a side thing. So like if Dio ever became popular, because it turns off Mechanologist attack for boost, but they've even gone away from boost a little bit. The card is slowly kind of going down a little bit in terms of like applicability, but into the decks where it is good, it's really good, right? Like Draconic, it just shuts them down, right? So it all depends if you think it's worth it or not, depending on your budget. $45 isn't a bad price for the card in general, for like the future of like having sideboard cards in your arsenal in Flesh and Blood. But into this specific Ira Armory deck, this is not where I would go on my first choice. I'm not saying it's bad, I'm just saying you can spend your money better elsewhere. Prismatic Layline. It sucks this card's $16 now. I've been playing with this card a lot. It is very good in Ira, specifically with Iris, because the Iris's ability to go get Whirling Mist Blossom turns the full power of this card on very quickly, because the hardest thing about this card is getting all three colors played, right? Because if you get all three colors played, it essentially is a somewhat like dual threat where it's a 0 for 6. But most of the time, what you're trying to get out of this card is the blue and the yellow, getting the +2 yellow and +3 blue. Being able to play Whirling Mist Blossom for 5 on Chainlink 2, and then finishing with, like, you know, a Torn of Tempo for 6 or something like that, can be really useful. But if you can get the full capability out of it, it's really nice. What I have noticed with people, and we talked about this on the deck tech, is like when I play this card first and then I swing Edge of Autumn, opponents are just getting scared that I'm going to swing Whirling Mist Blossom on Chainlink 2, so they block Autumn to try to turn off Whirling Mist Blossom. And then I just come at them with like a Bittering Thorns for 6, and they're like, I just gave a whole card away. I can't block this now. And like, let's say they do block it. Well, now you just took 3 cards from their hand, and then you finish on like, you know, a blue for, you know, 6 or 5, and then you just took their whole hand, and you arsenal whatever your last card was anyway. Regardless, like, it forces opponents to make really stupid blocks, in my opinion. So it is very nice. It's almost always going to get the 0 for 5. It's just the full 0 for 6 can be a little bit hard sometimes. Because of Iris, you're able to turn it on. So the question is, like, is it worth it? Again, if you were playing if you really want to make the most of Whirling Mist Blossom, you want a little bit of a spike turn, Prismatic Leyline is very good. And I think it's worth it. However, I could see now I know it's annoying to only buy 2 because people just say get the play set, but you could just put 2 of these in your deck and it'd be fine. You don't want to see multiple of these in a hand, so you could argue that you only should have 2 in a tune list anyway, and that would save you a little bit of money. So overall, I think it's really good. And the funny thing is, if you're in a generic, more like mid-rangey Ira list, this card might not even make the slot. But if you're in more of a aggressive with a lot of attack reactions and blues like Nip of the Heels and Conceal Blade or Lunging Press or whatever the case may be, and you're trying to make the most of Whirling Mist Blossom and like other on-hit cards, Prismatic Leyline is very, very good. So, and then we have Censor. Censor is just so good. Like, this card, it gets better and better the more you play a deck. The more you understand your matchups, the more you understand like what certain opponents can do on a 2-card hand, on a 3-card hand, on a 4-card hand. Like, for example, Earth, right? If a Florian holds all of their cards and I know it's a Channel Mount Heroic build, I'll typically pick Channel Mount Heroic right now because they're running that card. Or I'll pick Channel the Limb Tree if I know it's a slower build. Or I'll even pick Swarming Gloomveil because I know that's a big extender for them. If they're on a 2-card hand, and I'm not going to Arsenal, I almost always pick Felling of the Crown. If I am going to Arsenal, I pick Plow Under because I can use some of my blocking and keep my if it's a good Arsenal. If a Verdance is on a 1-card hand, I will name Healing Potion because that's their best 1-card hand against me. Stuff like that, right? The more you understand the decks you're playing against, the better this card becomes, and it's just such good value. And at worst, like, you name their power card, and you're like, okay, you can't hit me with the power card this turn. Like, when Art of War was around, this card was basically okay, I'm just going to name Art of War, and I know you can't hit me with your power turn, right? Against, like, a Brute, if you can just name Blood Rush Bellow, and you know, like, whether they got it or not, like, you know you're not going to get Blood Rush Bellow that turn, which is a huge swing. So, honestly, if you are a Ira player who's like, okay, I have a $100 budget. I spent $40 on the Ira Armory deck. I got it for MSRP. What do I do with my last $60? My suggestion to you, would be I would probably get Sirens as a safe harbor. I would probably get my Humbles. And that would cost you around $250 for the Humbles, around $2-ish, $150 for the Sirens. So you're looking at like $4. And then if you're willing to spend $5 more, I would get Ancestral Empowerment for $30 as a playset, and I would get Censors for a playset if you can, or even get 2 of them. So 2 Censors at $30, 2 Ancestral Empowerments, or 3 Ancestral Empowerments make $60, and then maybe spend $3 more and get your Sirens as safe harbors and your Humbles, just to have a little bit more modality with your 2 costs. I think that it's pretty good. Like, that's where I would go first. Now, if you're a really cheap gamer and you're like, okay, not really cheap, I don't mean that like a bad way. You know what I mean? I'm a cheap gamer. And you only can get like 1 expensive playset of a card, I would probably get Ancestral Empowerment. It's going to be the most useful thing over time, especially if you want to play Ninja. And then, my first purchase, though, would probably be Humbles and Sirens as a safe harbor. So hopefully this made sense. I tried to go pretty in depth with this as far as like upgrades. I didn't go over like Tunic. I didn't go over CNC because if you can spend money on those cards, obviously this is not for you. Another one also, it just came out of my head. Robes of the Autumn's Fall is very good. It's fine. Like, being able to have Natural Arcane Barrier in your list is very good. You could run Old Knocker, which is the instant gain resource, but personally, I would run Deep Blue. If you're looking for a budget card that's really going to help you in a crappy situation, this Tales of Aria common, it says action, put a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck, destroy Deep Blue, gain 3 resources. So you essentially turn a red in your hand into a blue pitch. Very, very good. And now that we're now on Kodachis, you don't have to have a 0 cost in pitch. So you just gain the 3 resources. You're able to play out your Edge of Autumn and another card. I think this card's very good in those crappy Ira hands where you draw 4 reds. Even in the Ira Armory deck, like if you draw a Bittering Thorns, Enact Vengeance, Flying Kick, red, and let's say Torrent Tempo, which is a very possible hand to draw, you now can sink probably the Flying Kick, gain 3 resources. You're able to pitch for Edge on 1, or pitch for Bittering Thorns, and then pitch for Edge, floating 1, and then swing your Torrent, or pitch your Torrent Tempo, swing and Enact Vengeance. Like, you could do some cool, that's like random line thought off the top of my head, so if it's not the best one, I'm sorry. But it's just a thought process, right? Deep Blue is very, very good to fix those all red hands. Personally, I would rather run this over Old Knocker because that single resource isn't going to like go crazy for you in the deck, personally. But that's kind of where my head goes. So hopefully this made sense. If you enjoyed this, please leave a like, comment, or subscribe. If not me, it's completely fine. Go to another creator, leave a like, comment, subscribe on their stuff. Let's get more people seeing this game. Thank you all so much for the support. This month has been insane. We are 15,000 views away from 1 million views on the channel, which I'll talk about in a different video. That absolutely makes me nervous and itchy. But the fact that we're even at that point. But thank you all so much. Y'all have been awesome. Keep staying positive on the game. Be kind to each other. We're in a weird spot in the world. There's a lot of crap going on. Be nice to each other. Not to say you can't, be adults and keep people accountable, but try to be nice to each other. I'm seeing a lot of like just blind level negativity, and I hate it. Not everywhere, but I've noticed it's been impactful in my life recently, but I won't go on a soapbox on that. But thank y'all so much. Y'all have a great rest of your day, and I'll see y'all next time on TCG Talk.